What is going on, friends?
We could just get rid of the bug.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, friends? What is going on, friends? What is going on, friends? What is going on, friends? My name is Mark Denney.
So one thing I failed to mention when I was first recording this video, but I want to make sure I do because it's very important, is that if you're using a telephoto lens, and let's say you want to use the lens hood that came with it, typically the lens hood for telephoto lenses is substantially larger than, say, a wide-angle lens. But let's say that the telephoto lens that you're using doesn't have a tripod collar attached to it, and you actually have to mount the camera body to the ball head, just like in this scenario right here. That creates a very imbalanced scenario, and there's a lot of pressure leaning forward on the camera. I'll always switch my camera from a 2-second self-timer to a 10-second self-timer just to give the camera an additional 8 seconds to stabilize once I go ahead and start that exposure. And if it's a windier day as well, I'll put in-body image stabilization on, optical image stabilization on, even though I'm on a tripod, because when you have a longer lens, especially with the lens hood on, there's a lot of surface area here to catch that wind. So sometimes it's kind of hard to get a completely stabilized image when there's any kind of wind at all when you're using a longer lens. And to take it a step further, if it's an extremely windy situation, I'll start the exposure and I actually will stand in front of the, or I should say stand next to the camera and the lens in the direction that the wind is blowing, just to kind of block that wind, just to try and give the camera a fighting chance any way that I possibly can to be as stable as possible to create that perfectly sharp photograph. This has been practically impossible to try and get these numbers to be somewhat straight for this video, but that's about as good as I could get it. I know it's probably going to change here in just a moment anyway, but yeah, so 200,000 subscribers. When I first started this channel a few years ago, never in a billion years would I have ever expected it to turn out the way that it has. And the past few years have been just an absolutely incredible ride. And it's something that I am extremely grateful for. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for you, for watching the videos and liking the videos and sharing them and commenting. And did I say subscribing yet? And subscribing to the channel if I didn't already say it. But I can't express how much I really do appreciate it. And this milestone is something that really does mean a lot to me. And much like has become kind of a tradition on this channel, every time a big milestone is surpassed, I do a giveaway, whether it's 50,000 subscribers or 150,000 subscribers, and now 200,000 subscribers, which really feels like a big achievement to myself. And I wanted to go big on the giveaway. So I'll announce all the details towards the end of the video, but be sure to stick around for that. It is by far, hands down, the biggest giveaway I have ever done on this channel before. I'm really excited to share it with you. So as far as the topic of this week's video is concerned, why are your landscape photos not sharp enough? I just completed a flurry of workshops over the past few months. And probably one of the most common struggles had to do with photos that weren't sharp or photos that were perceived to be slightly out of focus. And it was one of the biggest issues that I encountered. And it seemed like there was 3 main causes for these for photos not being as sharp as attendees and participants wanted their photos to be. And I rated these three causes, or these 3 reasons, in order of frequency. So the very first one I'm going to mention is the, I guess, least frequent, but one that still pops up rather often. And then the final one that I'm going to mention is hands down the biggest reason that your photos are not sharp enough. So to jump right into it, the very first reason has to do with the fact of one of these, camera straps. So on these workshops, on all of the workshops that I taught over the last few months, many people had camera straps on their camera. And I'm not against camera straps at all. They're actually, there's a lot of great things that, of course, the obvious reason, camera straps will provide a little bit of safety in case you drop your camera. But there's also ways to use camera straps where you can kind of use the strap as a way, you can do this on camera, to kind of brace yourself to help you steady your camera when you're shooting at slower shutter speed. So that's really good. There's a lot of creative ways to do that. But when you are shooting on a tripod, camera strap can kind of be your worst enemy, mainly because your camera strap's kind of like dangling, and especially if there's a little bit of wind, it can really cause a lot of havoc, especially if you're shooting at longer shutter speeds, half a second, 1 second, 10 seconds, whatever the case may be. If you have your camera strap on your camera, even if there's not a ton of wind at all and it doesn't look like it's blowing around, it can still be introducing a little bit of camera shake. So that is definitely something that I would recommend. If you can easily remove your camera strap from your camera, like these Peak Design camera straps, I think these are one of the best ones out there, mainly because you can just easily remove them from the camera itself. And I think that's pretty cool. But I would highly recommend, if you're shooting on a tripod, to try and get the camera strap off your camera, or just be very cognizant about it possibly moving while your exposure is being captured. Now, the second reason has to do with if you are physically pressing your shutter button. Now, no matter how hard you try or what kind of like ninja stillness you have, there's no way to press the shutter button without introducing a little bit of camera shake in the camera. So whether you're shooting, like I said, half a second exposures all the way up to 30-second exposures, if you have to initiate your exposure by pressing that shutter button, you are immediately starting your exposure with a little bit of camera shake, and that can also result in an otherwise soft image and give you the illusion that your photograph is not as sharp as you want it to be. So how do you solve that? There's two very easy ways to solve it. Probably the most common way to solve it is by using a remote shutter release. And I would show you one, but I've gotten rid of all of mine because I don't use them. But shutter releases are great. This gives you the ability to not have to press the shutter button, and you can actually press the remote shutter release to start your exposure. What I find to be an even better solution is a self-timer. You don't have to purchase any additional gear. You save a little money. You don't have to carry any gear, and you don't have to plug anything in your camera. It's always there. It's always available for you. I always have my camera set to a 2-second self-timer. If I'm using a longer lens or a larger lens, I'll have that set to a 10-second self-timer, but that's basically gonna give me the ability to have my hands off the camera when it starts its exposure. And that's a huge benefit. That's definitely gonna help you out from creating that little bit of camera shake. So highly recommend, even if you're not experiencing any of these issues, I would highly recommend always using that self-timer, always using a remote shutter release. It's a great habit to get into. Now, the third reason, and this is hands down the most common reason why I think a lot of photographs are not as sharp as people would like them to be, is because you're using a shutter speed that is too slow if you're hand holding your image. So there's something called the 1/over rule. So the 1/over rule is basically if you're hand holding your photograph, and let's say you're using a telephoto lens and you're zoomed in at 100 millimeters. If you're shooting at 100 millimeters, your shutter speed needs to be 1/100th of a second. If you're shooting at 200 millimeters, your shutter speed needs to be at least 1/200th of a second. And that's gonna give you the ability to capture those crisp images while you're hand holding your photograph. Now, I generally don't shoot I really don't shoot handheld too often, not because of my desire to create crisp images, which of course I always want to do, but it's mainly because I like the fact that using a tripod kind of slows me down a little bit, helps me refine a composition a little bit better, make small little changes here and there. I find it more difficult to compose a shot using using a handheld method. But nevertheless, if you do want to shoot handheld, and whenever I do, it's usually in very bright conditions when I can have an extremely fast shutter speed to ensure that I don't have any kind of camera shake in your camera. Now, if you have optical image stabilization in your lens or in-body image stabilization in your camera, that will definitely help you out. So if you're shooting handheld at 1/100th of a second and you have in-body image stabilization on or optical image stabilization on or both, you can usually get away with maybe a 50th of a second or an 80th of a second or a little bit slower than 1/100th of a second. And I would highly encourage you, if you are shooting handheld, use as much stabilization that your setup has to help you keep those images as crisp as possible. So those are really the three reasons why I think a lot of people get their photographs back in post and they're just not as sharp as they think they should be. And a lot of times people might think it's because of their camera or possibly because of their lens, but a lot of times it's just because of the method that is being employed or the shutter speed that is being utilized to capture that photograph. So I do hope that information is helpful for anyone who is happens to be in any of those situations. So as far as the giveaway is concerned, the 200,000K giveaway, like I said, I couldn't be more grateful for the way things have shaped up for me. It has really been one of the most memorable few years of my entire life, and I'm extremely grateful for it. But usually I give away a camera bag on all of the biggest milestones. But this year's milestone, this 200,000K milestone, I'm not going to give away one camera bag or 2 or 3 camera bags, but I have 4 camera bags to give away. And in order to enter the giveaway, just make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and leave a comment. And this comment could be anything about landscape photography, or actually any type of photography that you happen to be into. If you're a wedding photographer and you happen to watch my channel all about landscape photography, I really do appreciate that. But just leave me a comment about anything related to your own photography. It could be how long you've been into photography, what type of photography you enjoy, where you're going on your next trip. What are your goals for this year? How are you going to improve your own photography? Whatever the case may be, just anything related to your own photography. And in 2 weeks, I will pick 4 winners from the comment section below, and I will ship these bags out to you. So I know you're probably wondering, will Mark get to the point? What are the bags that you have? So let me move this over so I don't drop that, and move this to the side. So the very first bag that I'm going to be giving away is the Shimoda Action X30, and it does come with the internal camera unit inside, and this is a retail value of $350. I don't want the video to go on for 20 minutes as I give you a review of each one of these bags, but some of these bags I have done videos on, and if I have, I'll put a link in the description below so you can get detailed information about it. And if I have not made a video about the bag, I will put a link to the website where you can get additional information about it. But that is the first giveaway, and that is not a brand new bag. I used that bag for about 8 or 9 months, but it is in pretty much mint condition. And of course, I'm going to clean it all up perfectly as well. Now, the second bag is the original Peter McKinnon Nomadic bag. This is a retail of, I think retails for $400. This is not the bag that I made a video about last year. This is Peter McKinnon's very first bag that he released with Nomadic. And this is actually a brand new bag. This bag has never been used either, or has never been used. The first bag was slightly used. Now, the third giveaway is this. This is the Shimoda, the original Explorer version 1. That's what I'm trying to say. This is a 40-liter pack. I use this bag for about a year. There is a little bit, I'm going to try and get those little couple marks off of it, but this bag is in very good condition as well. I love this color, this kind of blue color. They did away with it after this edition of the Explorer 1 series, but I do like these leather straps and how it contrasts with this blue. And once again, this also comes with the core unit as well, and this bag also is a $350 retail value. And the final bag is this. This is the Mindshift Gear Trail, I think it's the Trailscape 16 liter, 18 liter bag. This is a retail value of $200 as well. This is a brand new bag. I really never used this either, but I wanted to give this bag away. A lot of these bags were just kind of sitting around in a closet for forever. And I just want to make sure that they get used, and I wanted to give them away to someone on the channel, and as a celebratory giveaway for reaching 200,000 subscribers. So thank you all so very much. And just to kind of go over the rules to enter real quick, just make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video, and leave me a comment that has something to do about the photography that you are into. And it could be absolutely anything. And in 2 weeks, I will pick a winner from the comment section below and send these 4 bags out to 4 different winners. So if you have any questions about the video, about why your landscape photos might not be sharp enough, or shutter speeds, or hand holding your cameras, or really anything, just leave a comment below related to that, and I'll be sure to get back in touch with you as soon as possible. And if you have any questions, I just said that, don't know why I'm saying that again. I just got back from my trip literally last night, and I'm pretty what's the word, knackered? I'm pretty exhausted, but this is a very important video to myself. It was something that I got the idea of it, after the most recent workshop, and I was seeing a lot of these shutter speed issues and camera shake issues, and I wanted to make the video. And of course, I just crossed the milestone of 200,000 subscribers, which is extremely important to me as well. So I might be a little bit off today, but I'm doing the best that I can. But as always, I very much appreciate you watching this week's video, and I will see you all next Wednesday. Bye.